Hello and welcome. My name is Larissa and I am a nerdy freelance artist who loves Disney and drinks way too much tea. But I'm also a former dancer and I actually designed dance costumes professionally for over a decade. So when I found out that my very dear friend was expecting not only her first child, but that it was going to be a future princess, that could only mean one thing: DIY tutus. So today I'm going to make several tutus as baby shower gifts, but I'm also going to be doing some other really fun handmade shower gifts, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications when I upload new videos. Making a real tutu for a true ballerina to wear on stage is a somewhat complicated process, but making one for a little baby to be photographed in, or a small child to play in, or a grown adult for a Halloween costume is actually surprisingly easy and affordable. The materials themselves are very easy to find, very simple and affordable, but the amount that you will need will vary greatly on the actual finished product that you're going for. Obviously, a tiny, adorable little newborn tutu is going to take a whole lot less material than, say, if I was making myself sort of a knee-length tutu for like a Halloween costume. But for the basic materials, I use ribbon for the waistband, and you can use just about any kind of ribbon you want. I recommend something around a 1/2 inch wide. You can go a little bit wider or a little bit narrower if that's what you want to use, but 1/2 inch works really well for me. It gives me a nice stable base to work off of without being too bulky or too skinny. I find something that's too skinny can just sort of cut in and not be very comfortable, and it doesn't give as stable as a base. Obviously, you will need tulle in the color or colors that you plan on using. It's easy to find online or in craft stores. They're typically little spools of tulle that are about 6 inches wide. You can find them narrower or wider. You can find very, very long spools. Usually, I think the ones in the craft store are about 25 yards. Very much depends on what you plan on using. From my costume design days, I actually have bags of remnants that were the ends of rolls, so they're in varying different widths, but I have a bunch of different colors. You'll also need a decently sharp pair of scissors. Next, you need something that is fairly flat and that has one distance that is the length of your finished tutu that you're trying to make. I have this sort of fake wood plank. It's, I think, from the back of an old cheap bookcase that I had in college. I've kept it on hand over the years because A, it works really well for making baby tutus, but B, I kind of feel like I could make some sort of a project out of this at some point. I don't know, it doesn't really take up space and I've definitely used it for stuff, so it's been convenient to have around. But something like this is very good for a project like this. It is the length of my finished tutu that I'm going for, and I can wrap a very long amount of it all at once on this. But if you have a much smaller flap of cardboard, that is perfectly fine, and I've definitely used that sort of thing on a regular basis. Your first step is going to be deciding the sizes for your tutu. So that is going to be the waist circumference that you need, as well as the length of the actual tutu. So if you're making the tutu for yourself or someone that you have access to, wrap the ribbon that you plan to use for your waistband around the waist where you want the tutu to sit. Leave enough of a tail on either end, usually at least 10 inches for me, and I would put a safety pin here to mark that spot. Then I would put the waistband all the way around and put another safety pin so that now you know this is the circumference that you need. If you're using measurements and a measurement chart, then I would just leave your 10, 12-inch tail, whatever you plan on using, put a safety pin, then measure out the distance that you need according to your chart, and put your second safety pin, and then either way, mark off your second length of tail and cut off your ribbon. You definitely want to use a ribbon that tones in nicely with the colors you're using. I often will use one that contrasts and is very fun, or is one of many colors in the tutu, something that's going to be pretty on its own. And then when you tie the tutu on, I like to leave lots of tails so that it will be pretty and like a decorative element, not just a plain old closure. But if you don't want a decorative bow and you don't want the bow to show, you can leave yourself a lot less of a tail when you're making your waistband. Then once you tie the bow, you can make it a little bit smaller and tuck it all down into the tutu while it's being worn. But if you're like me, then you're probably gonna choose a really pretty, fun, decorative ribbon and have a nice, big, fancy bow at the waist. 'Cause goodness knows I'm never extra. Now that the waistband is done, it's time to start cutting your tulle. So if I want this to be the length of my tutu, I will start the tulle along the bottom edge of that board, and then I will just continually wrap the tulle around the board. And then I will just keep wrapping, and I will go probably usually the entire length of the board, ever so gradually working my way down the length of whatever I'm using. You don't want to just keep wrapping in the same place over and over and over and over again, because if you do enough layers like that, then your outermost layer is actually going to end up being a longer piece of tulle than your innermost layer. Because math and pi are actual things. I know, I'm disappointed too. Now, as for how much tulle you want to cut at once, that again will depend on your project. Obviously, for an itty-bitty little baby tutu that the waist is this big and it's only this long, I'm not going to need as much tulle as if I were, say, making myself a big, long tutu. My waist is bigger and my leg is longer, so I will go through a lot more tulle. Also, depending on how fluffy you want your tutu to end up, you could use more or less tulle. I tend towards go big or go home, but again, maybe that's just me. Once you've wrapped your tulle around the length of your board, then I just carefully hold it all in place and take my scissors and cut along the bottom edge of my board. That ends up giving me a whole bunch of pieces of tulle that are all double the width of my board. And once you've got all your tulle cut, it's time to start tying. If you're wanting something that's just a little simpler, just more of a skirt, you can just tie one piece of tulle at a time. If you're wanting something nice and a little bit floofy, you can do 2 pieces of tulle at a time. If you're wanting something super duper floofy, you can go up to 3. I mean, you could probably do more. I've never done more than 3, and I found that to be plenty fluffy, but hey, you do you. But if you're tying 2 or 3 pieces of tulle at a time, that also means that you can mix colors within each clump. So for each clump of tulle that I'm going to tie, I stack all my pieces up, match the ends together, and then fold them in half with my finger being held in the center of each clump. Then I take my loose ends, wrap them around the ribbon waistband, and poke them through the loop where my finger is. For my first clump, I put this right next to the first safety pin and make sure that I pull it nice and tight right up against that safety pin. Then just repeat that process, moving down along the length of the ribbon. If you want a very fluffy, fuller tutu, just make sure to smush all your clumps really tightly up against each other. But if you're wanting a looser, softer sort of skirt feel, then you can space them out a little bit further, not quite so tightly tied together. If you want a solid color tutu, you just repeat that all the way along the length of the ribbon till you get to the second safety pin. Then you can take out the safety pins and tie the ribbons together into a pretty little bow. But you can also get a little crazier and more decorative with a few very simple techniques. I got this sort of striped effect by just alternating red and white clumps. I did 2 clumps of each color, alternating all the way around the waistband. I thought red and white would be a lot of fun. It'll be great for Valentine's Day, Christmas, 4th of July, Memorial Day. I think the mom will be able to get a lot of really cute pictures out of this. I think this is exciting, but you could do any colors you wanted. You could alternate any 2 colors. You could do 3, 4 colors. You could do whatever you wanted in whatever colors or themes you're going for. This is great if it's a first birthday party that has a very specific theme or something like that. Really awesome, easy to do the striped effect. But you can also do sort of a gradient or ombre effect if you want a softer feel. For instance, for this one, I started with a clump of white, then the next clump was white and light pink, then all light pink, then light pink, dark pink, then the next clump was all dark pink, and then I went back to the dark pink, light pink, so it just gradually gets darker and lighter pink as it works around the tutu. The ombre effect is really great for a case like this. This little tutu has a bunch of different shades of pink, so it'll work with a lot of different outfits, little onesies and tops and things that the mom will get from a lot of different people. Whereas if you make all a solid pink, it'll match some of the baby's outfits really well and other ones not so well at all. So an effect like this has a nice, soft, fluffy feel visually, but it's also practical because it will match more outfits. If this seems a little finicky for you, you can also just do sort of random alternating clumps of colors. For my one niece's first birthday, I made a tutu that was just completely random burst of a bunch of different really bright sort of neon-y colors. It was super adorable, very fun and bright and lots of energy, so you can have a lot of very different looks and feels with the same sort of technique. So as you can see, the process is really simple and straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of concentration or thought once you really get into the flow of it. I tend to binge watch a show on like Netflix or Disney Plus or something while I'm cutting and tying tutus. As for how much tulle to buy, just as a quick little jumping off point, each of these tutus took one roll of the 6-inch wide, 25-yard length rolls of tulle from Michaels. So there is 25 yards of tulle in this little baby tutu. So obviously if you're doing something for a bigger kid or an adult, you're going to want to plan accordingly and buy a lot of tulle. Even if you were wanting a kid that's not very much bigger around, but she's much older, again, that's going to be like twice as much tulle. So there's a pretty good little estimate for you of how much tulle to buy, I think. So that's how I make my DIY tutus for all ages. I hope you found this helpful and inspiring. If you did, please like down below. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.